Hey, what's up everybody, Jukem here. Welcome to this pro Pokkén player's first attempt at a Hardcore Nuzlocke in Pokémon Emerald. I've played Pokémon for around 15 years at this point, and it was the Cataclysm that brought me down the path of pursuing Pokkén. Despite that, I've never completed a Nuzlocke before. I attempted one twice many years ago, but I grew bored after a while. That changed when YouTube recommended Nuzlocke content and I got kind of addicted, so I decided I'd actually try to finish one. Emerald is the one I grew up on, so I thought it'd be a fitting start to this new addiction. And with the knowledge gained through these Nuzlocke videos and my years of playing Pokemon, I am basically a pro at this point. I'm out of sacrifices! Since this is my first video on the subject, allow me to go over what rules I've placed down for what a Hardcore Nuzlocke is. You have the normal Nuzlocke rules, first Pokemon on each route only, if a Mon faints it dies, suck it up, and nicknames to make myself feel worse about my rash decisions. But to spice it up and show off my skill, I've added a few more rules, namely, species clause for variety, set battle mode for challenge, no items in battle minus held items for more challenge, and a level cap for each gym leader's ace for even more challenge. Will I regret these decisions? Let's find out. Starting out, our hero Hunter, the monster collector who will rise to the occasion, moves from Johto to Hoenn to chase after his dad. I see the wildlife professor failing at his one job, so our 12-year-old rescues the grown man by using one of his Pokemon. Now, ideally, I would pick Torchic or Mudkip here. Trico is fine from what I hear, but he is still considered the hardest choice. So I picked him since he's my favorite Pokemon and beat up a raccoon. The first rival fight has zero issues with Alfredo the Trico, and we're off on our journey with some Pokeballs aching to get our initial encounters. On Route 101, our first friend made is a Poochyena named Biscuit. She'll be making sparse appearances. As for Route 103, I found a Wingull and named her Chowda. Now all the editors are gonna have to edit all this footage! Trudging along to Route 102, a Wurmple showed up. For those who don't know, Cascoon is a bit of a mascot for my videos and streams. This was my chance to catch one and pray I get the 50-50 correct. But I lost at the 6.25% chance part when Alfredo hit her with a critical hit. This was fate at work. On Route 104, we find a Meryl. I named her Dino Nuggy, the best type of Nuggy. I've been lucky to have gotten a few water-type Pokemon to fight Roxanne with in the future, since Alfredo is pretty frail, and I don't know if I could really force him to take on Nosepass alone. Off to Petalburg Woods, where I caught a Tailo named Eggplant. On Route 116, I found French the Nincada. Short for French onion soup, you know? And lastly, Ruster Tunnel houses the guaranteed Whismur encounter, which I named Grapefruit. With Alfredo in the lead, we challenge Roxanne. Her two Geodude mean nothing, both going down to an Absorb each. You may have noticed I forgot to give the Bullet CTM from the north of Petalburg Woods. I did obtain it, but for one reason or the other, I thought it wouldn't be needed. When the Nosepass came out, I remembered flashbacks of my childhood of Absorb not doing much damage. Realizing my mistake, I decided to attack a few times with Alfredo before switching out to one of my water types. Luckily, the first Rock Tomb she attempted missed, while Absorb did around a fourth of her health. This continued into the next turn with another Absorb, and that's when my heart dropped. Nosepass used block, meaning I can't switch out. So yeah, Roxanne forced Alfredo to take on Nosepass alone. It got even scarier when Roxanne still had her berry and potions available. I could lose my starter here. Real quick, during this crisis, but did anyone else as a kid see Nosepass's right leg in its sprite as a mouth making an O shape? Now you may not be able to unsee it. Anyway, nothing else to do besides trading Absorbs and Rock Tombs, which later turned into Tackles since the AI only uses Rock Tomb to lower speed. Once Alfredo was slower, the Tackles gave me enough time to take down the Nosepass with a final Absorb. If that first Rock Tomb hit and I decided to stay in for the block I forgot she even had, or if the AI didn't work like it did for Rock Tomb, Alfredo would have been gone. Not the greatest first gym, but I'll take a deathless run nonetheless for our first badge. Alfredo saw the light of day to evolve into Grovyle, and we headed toward Dewford Town after dealing with Team Aqua. Once there, we get the Old Rod to fish up Hot Dog the Tentacle on Route 107, and Ice Cream to Magikarp in Dewford. I think now is a great time to mention how much of a running gag it was for specifically Grapefruit being poisoned. It just sort of happened to her a lot, but it's okay, just a lot of trips to the Pokemon Center. Though the real heart attack was my encounter in Granite Cave, and Abra. These could have easily been a waste of an encounter if it teleported away, so I had to catch it first try. I clutched my Premier Ball for good luck, threw it at the psychic Pokemon, and... well, would you look at that? I named him Kale. After bugging Steven, I returned to his father to receive the EXP share, making it easier to train up Kale for Brawly. Speaking of training up, to make the grind a bit easier, I went ahead towards Slateport to level up the party for the aforementioned gym battle. This is where, tragically, out of pure ignorance, I allowed Eggplant to stay in too long once confused. Laziness to switch out sure ain't worth the loss of a valuable Pokemon, and I didn't even get to do any guts strategies like I planned to against Brawly. Oh well, shake it off. During our training, I remembered we could make another catch on Route 110. Licorice the Oddish has joined the party. Kale also evolves into a Kadabra. I won't be able to get Alakazam, but even Kadabra is insanely fast and strong for this early in the game. Using our newfound brain power, we simply decimate Brawly's entire squad with confusion. His Meditite isn't weak to Psychic, but only having Focus Punch doesn't help it at all, and I knew this even as a kid. I am really happy to have gotten this encounter since it seemed like such a rare opportunity to use Kadabra. Our second badge in tow, I approach Route 110's rival fight. This battle is infamous for being tough even on casual playthroughs, but thanks to my picking of Trico so that May has the Psychic weak Combuskin, this is another clean confusion sweep from Kale. Grapefruit evolved into Loudred soon after. Another good point to mention is that I was enamored by double battles since I found them fun and were quicker. Double battles are innately riskier with 2 Pokemon on the opposing side. I wouldn't recommend doing them, but for me there weren't too many issues. What was an issue though was side activities were also a peak of interest, including the infamous Winstraight family. After doing all the necessities prior to Watson and obtaining Macaron the Illumise on Route 117, I thought it'd be nice to train her up for the gym in case I needed some support moves, especially with it having Moonlight to heal up in a pinch. Unfortunately, I decided to swap out Chowda for Macaron, my flying type. Even more unfortunately is Kale being paralyzed when I switched into Winstraight VV's Shroomich's Stun Spore. Why is that? Well, there's this funny little Meditite in the final battle with Vicky. I have my normal type out front, and I no longer have my flying type or powerhouse Kadabra to take care of it. Getting ready for what's to come, I switched to Licorice to take a high jump kick. Thinking she will go for confusion next, I swapped to French. But the yoga instructor dictates the rapture is upon us and simply meditates. If Kale wasn't paralyzed, this wouldn't be an issue to switch into the confusion. I chip away at her with cuts, landing 1 crit as Meditite meditates again before hitting hard with high jump kick. It was time to sack something. And what better mon to sack than one of the reasons I'm even in this mess? Macaron. I was going to attempt to charm it if I could somehow live a hit or have it use confusion again, but the sweetest ideas sometimes end in the most bitter of moments as Macaron goes down. I'm panicking. The only Pokemon on my team I know that is faster than this thing is Alfredo. To finish the Meditite off, I needed at least 3 Bullet Seeds to connect, and what happens? No, you only hit twice! No! My precious starter was taken down in the blink of an eye. I prepared for the worst by sending in Licorice, as I felt surviving a confusion was much better odds than the rest of my team surviving a high jump kick. But Vicky knew a +2 high jump kick would do more to an Oddish than confusion, which is very unfortunate. For her! Grandma ain't the wisest as I luck out of this miserable streak of opponents. Don't worry, I don't learn my lesson. With Alfredo gone, I am very much depressed and have to prepare for Watson right away. Watson is a run killer due to the limited options you have at this point, especially with his Magneton. Combuskin and Marshtomp would have been very helpful at this point, but on the bright side, it's not like I would have had my starter based on previous actions I took anyway. But I had an idea. So, during the grind-up, I evolved Biscuit into Mightyena, Ice Cream into Gyarados, and Licorice into Gloom. You'll notice I didn't evolve French into a Ninjask. This is important for later. Starting off the gym battle, I lead with Biscuit, using Intimidate to lessen the damage on a potential self-destruct from Voltorb. I was wise as it goes for exactly that straight off the bat. Biscuit takes minor damage where a crit would have definitely killed, but this was still my best option. I also made sure to give Ice Cream the experience share so that he would learn Dragon Rage through level up. This will be very important for later. Watson sends out Electrike, who I hit with a Bite. This triggers Static, but I was wise and equipped a Cherry Berry. Bite also flinches Electrike, allowing me to bite it again for free, taking it out. Static triggers again, but it's okay. Biscuit has served her job. I was planning on sacking for a free switch for my strat, but I am on a mission to save Private Biscuit after she was the key to dealing with the Voltorb. I go for a Bite to get some chip damage, but get paralyzed instead after being hit by a Shockwave before switching to French to absorb the next Shockwave. This is why I didn't evolve French, to pivot against electric attacks. I then switch to Licorice, who eats a Sonic Boom. The next turn, Licorice shrugs off Thunder Wave thanks to a Cherry Berry as I put the Magneton to sleep with Sleep Powder, before using a few turns to absorb the Magneton for some damage. I eat a Sonic Boom once it wakes up as I go for Absorb again. Next turn, it Thunder Waves again and I put it back to sleep with Sleep Powder. I use this opportunity to switch to Ice Cream. I felt the need to risk a first turn wake up and use Dragon Rage to gain guaranteed damage. If I was able to hit Bite with Biscuit earlier, I would have KO'd it then and there, but I needed the damage and couldn't risk Licorice going down Magneton herself by staying in to damage it and putting it back to sleep again. Luckily, I wasn't punished, and Magneton didn't wake up after Dragon Rage. Watson uses the next turn to heal, but that's okay. 2 more Dragon Rages take it out and bring Watson down to his Manectric. We're also set up perfectly for my strat to take this lightning-fast powerhouse doggo out. French isn't just useful for pivoting in this fight, but also for PP stalling by switching Ice Cream and French out for one another over and over again to stall out the shockwaves. This does take a while, as while Intimidate will weaken quick attacks when Ice Cream goes in, it also may prompt Manectric to use Howl. I also used one Sand attack with French the first turn during the strat to make it less likely to hit quick attacks on Ice Cream. Patience is the watchword here, as we eventually PP stall the shockwaves and take out the Manectric with 2 Dragon Rages, winning us our 3rd badge. I also finally allow French to evolve out of gratitude for his effort, as otherwise we probably would have lost a few team members or even wiped. Feeling accomplished, we do what we need with Rock Smash to get strength and continue north of Mauville. On Route 111, I caught a Numel named Nacho, and while in the fiery path, I got me a Torkoal called Ochazuke. She's a beauty, and a Pokemon I put on my team immediately. Approaching Route 112, I was feeling confident, but also cautious, but that didn't stop me from choosing this double battle right here against Camper Lawrence and Ninja Boy Lung. I remember thinking, I should switch out Chowda since the coughing is likely to explode. I proceed to then switch in my least physically defensive Pokemon, Kale, thinking Ice Cream's Intimidate would help keep him safe. He was not safe. I clearly had better options, such as the tankiest tortoise around, but my brain decided to fail for the briefest second, and that cost me one of my most valuable team members. I would be lying if I said I wasn't depressed afterward. But as with our previous deaths, we survive and move onward for our fallen comrades. They have all died so far from carelessness, and that may or may not continue in the future. On Route 113, I caught a Lombre and named him Quiche. I was initially disappointed, hoping I could get something more unique, such as Swablu or even Seviper, but Ludicolo is a pretty great Pokemon, so I'll take it. Afterward, I take care of the Meteor Falls and Mount Chimney story beats, with Chowda evolving into Pelipper along the way. I catch a Machop at Mount Chimney, which I name Sketty, and then it's off to Flannery's gym with this team of heroes. No problems are had getting to her, besides not remembering the puzzle and being forced to do some double battles. Flannery herself starts out with me leading Chowda against her Numel. I easily drown it in a water gun, and next comes Slugma. This little slug was able to survive a water gun before counteracting with Smog, which of course poisons. I never thought it would have survived an attack, but I should have equipped a Pekka Berry just in case. Now I can't entirely sweep her gym with Chowda as I had hoped, but we take out the Slugma after she heals to stall for poison, and up comes Camerupt. Water Gun, yet again, doesn't clutch the KO when I thought it would, so Camerupt brightens up her homie Torkoal's future. I know she is most likely to heal again, which she does, so I go for another Water Gun. Not even half health. I go for Protect the Stall the Sun as she attempts an Overheat. Knowing this is an unsafe Pelipper space, I switch to Ochazuke to take the Overheat. It did a ton more than I thought, but in hindsight, sun-boosted overheats really do hit different. I then bring out Ice Cream on this hot day to take a weaker overheat as sun fades. I figured a Dragon Rage would be enough, but yet again, this camel survives and resets a sunny day, meaning all my effort to stall was for nothing. I just take the KO on the Camerupt with Dragon Rage. The Torkoal Ace comes out with a ton of sun turns up. Dragon Rage brings her to slightly above at half HP as she used Attract. I didn't know she had this on her Torkoal, but here we are. I risked the chance since I could afford taking a hit, which pays off with another Dragon Rage hit as she hits a Body Slam, thankfully with no paralysis. Next turn though, I become immobilized as I'm hit again by Body Slam. I could survive another, but I switched to Grapefruit to take the Body Slam so that I could safely KO the Torkoal. Unfortunately, Flannery, being the newbie gym leader, decides the best option was to use Overheat, which one-shots Grapefruit. Another death that I could have never predicted, and the sun was gone at this point, by the way. If Flannery knew an Overheat was her strongest option against a water type, especially when sun was up, I'm unsure why she only now decided to use it. It also sucks cause Exploud was a friend's favorite Pokemon, and now they'll never forgive me. I bring back Ice Cream, who has realized girls are icky, breathes on the tortoise a bit too hard, which caused her to faint from disgust. And that's our 4th gym badge. And I'm feeling as good as that Torkoal. There isn't much to do between the 4th and 5th gyms besides exploring the desert. The only notable encounters are a Trapinch named Vinegar in Mirage Tower and grabbing the Claw Fossil up on top. Cradley is probably better, but my Exploud fanatic friend asked me to pick their favorite Fossilmon to make up for my mistake against Flannery. I was more than happy to oblige out of pity. Watermelon the Anorith is revived. During the grind, Sketty evolves into Machoke, and I'm finally able to do a gut strategy for Norman's gym, albeit not with a speedy Pokemon, but a bulkier one with type effectiveness. That said, I got scared when this trainer with a Vigoroth survived a guts-boosted Karate Chop, who then healed as I switched. I then got them to the red again, but it's okay, we got out of it alive. Now for Norman. Starting off the battle with Dear Dad, I lead Sketty against its Spinda. kind of forgot it got side beam, so it uses that, but Sketty takes it fairly well for what it is. I one-shot it back with a critical karate chop. I then get flashbacks of 5 minutes ago seeing the Vigoroth come out next. I decide it's not worth the risk of getting crit by Slash since karate chop didn't take down the previous Vigoroth, so I send in Ice Cream. It's really good I did switch since Norman hits a critical hit Facade. I noticed that I could survive another Facade even if it crits, unless there's a high roll of course, so I hit a Dragon Rage as Facade doesn't do much. I then go for Strength, thinking it might do more than Dragon Rage, but I was wrong, and I barely don't KO the Vigoroth, who Facades again. Norman heals this turn, so I bring him back down to almost half with Dragon Rage. Dragon Rage is super good early game for obvious reasons, but the 3-hit KO territory here really shows how it's aging. Not wanting to risk anything, I go into Ochazuke. I'm a genius since the upcoming Facade also crits, and Ochazuke takes it like a champ. While it tries to hit her on her special defensive side with Feint Attack, it does minimal damage, allowing her to finish off the Vigoroth with Flamethrower. Lanoon comes out and immediately slashes. We tank it and retaliate with Flamethrower. With the Oran Berry I put on Ochazuke, I am confident I won't die to a crit slash. And then I get crit slashed. The berry didn't affect anything, but wow, I'm getting crit a lot in this fight. But like I said, I'm smart. Occasionally. One last Flamethrower takes out Lanoon. Then comes the big boy, Slacking. Because I have Ochazuke out, this is an automatic win. She gets Protect naturally, so it's a matter of defending when Slacking attacks, and then attacking during Truant turns. It also helps that I got a burn at one point, making Slacking even less threatening. When Norman was in healing range, I did get confused as to whether Truant was going to occur next turn or not. I switched to Biscuit for safety measures, getting Intimidate off while he's burned, allowing me to chip away with bites. He goes for Yawn at one point, but a switch to another Protect user in Chowda allows me to safely continue to stall until it succumbs to burn damage, earning us badge number 5. With Surf in our possession, we have a stronger water move to spam, but this also means we can obtain the Good Rod and get some other important encounters. First, we go to New Mauville to get a Thunderbolt TM and encounter a Magnemite. We name it Jacquelotl. We haven't really had any electric or steel type options since we passed a lot of them, but Magneton would be incredibly useful coming up. On Route 115, we surf north to find a Swablu, who I named Yogurt, and on Route 105, I fish up a Wailmer named Zeddy. Baked. I make sure to gain the Ice Beam TM before heading to the next gym, adding Jacquelotl to the current team as well. On Route 118, I found a Zigzagoon. I know this thing can sweep the entire Elite Four with Belly Drum, but I was a bit disappointed. We named him Apple, boxed him, and avoided that strat to make things more interesting. No more important encounters occur as we save the Weather Institute and sweep May's entire team with Jacquelotl and Chowda. This battle also caused Jacquelotl to evolve into Magneton. I also make sure to snag the Castrom's Mystic Water before releasing it since it wasn't my encounter for this route. After some coughing flashbacks, we reach Four Tree City. Also, I got a 1% Sidon encounter on Route 120 into finding the also 1% Kecleon immediately afterward. My luck is weird, but welcome to the team anyway, Caraway. Winona time. Another run killer. While grinding, I had taught Chowda Ice Beam to prepare for the Altaria, but as she leveled up, I had another idea. The battle with Winona begins with her Swablu, with me leading Ochazuke. She goes for Mirror Move, but it fails and the Cloud Burb is hit by a strong Flamethrower. I use Protect the next turn so that Mirror Move, if she went for it, would use Protect instead of hitting me with a Flamethrower, but she just goes for a Safeguard. One Body Slam after tanking and Aerial Ice takes out the Swablu. Up comes Pelipper and here comes the brilliant plan I came up with. I may have gotten carried away with PP Stall and Watson, since I planned on doing so to this Pelipper so that I may set up 6 curses with Ochazuke for the Altaria in the back. How would I? Well, it's anything but simple. You know that Ice Beam TM I taught Chowda? I got rid of it for Stockpile and Swallow strats to stall with defense buffs and healing. Swallow doesn't actually remove the defensive buff Stockpile gives in this gen, so I thought it'd be a foolproof plan to set Ochazuke up. Doing this only because I was worried Ice Beam wouldn't kill the quad weak Altaria, cause lol, good special defense. Didn't calc out of laziness by the way, I'm a genius. Never doubt my intellect as this ultimate stallfest takes place. Or well, I guess overcomplicating it means I'm too smart and must pay for my crimes, since Supersonic had Chowda hit herself one too many times, along with an Aerial Ace crit, taking her out after several turns of stalling. Chowda! Now the editors are gonna have to edit out all this stall! As for why I got rid of Ice Beam of all things for the strat instead of using it as a backup, I had both Surf and Fly as HM moves, and the move deleter isn't until Lily Cove. I definitely could have gone all the way to Lily Cove because it isn't blocked off, but was once again lazy. and now I'm paying dearly for my genius decisions. Instead of abandoning the plan like I should've, I attempted to then switch stall the Pelipper, eventually weakening my team a ton. At this point, I did give up the cursed tortoise strat and just Dragon Rage the Pelipper with Ice Cream. With the water burb finally gone, Tropius comes out. I use Strength for some damage as it prepares to launch a Solar Beam. This makes me switch to Jacquelatl, who easily lives the attack and takes it out with a few Thunderbolts. No heal stall for you, Tropical Dino. This then sends in the Pokemon that led me to do the most absurd strat imaginable, Altaria. This thing knows both Earthquake and Dragon Dance. It almost always goes Dragon Dance first turn, which can lead to sweeps, especially with my weakened team. I decided my best bet was to hope I was faster to hit with Thunder Wave, or at least do so if the Altaria was faster and it Dragon Danced. Unfortunately, while I was faster, she chose Earthquake, crumpling Jacquelatl to dust. I was feeling really bad, so many fun encounters being forced to perish due to my silly actions. I still don't learn, but luckily, Ice Cream gets a free switch in to start Dragon Raging her. On the first one, Altaria Dragon Danced. I knew I was still faster due to paralysis and could survive a non-crit aerial ice thanks to Intimidate, which I am luckily unpunished for risking. This lets me click Dragon Rage one last time for the knockout. Thank goodness. I hope you can find a negative energy ion to match your positive energy you brought to our team. The Skarmory in the back can then do nothing because I have Ochazuke here to just blast it with a flamethrower. Winona then stated I handled my Pokemon with more grace than her, and suddenly the two deaths felt even worse. But yay, 6 badge I guess. With new team members, we arrive at Lilycove for another easy rival fight before going to Route 123 to get a Kecleon named Edamame. This is also where we encounter cool trainer Wendy, whose Mawile used fake tears on Ice Cream, lowering his special defense. I didn't notice since I was in VC, and it conveniently got very distracting with soundboard and background noise. Anyway, that's irrelevant to the fact that Ice Cream was put to sleep by Grass Whistle, and then KO'd with just a few magical leaves. I had to ask the friend with a lot of background noise to lead the VC, which made me feel even worse. Gyarados is a superstar Pokemon, and I just threw it away, along with one of my friendships. Also, I really just lost both of my water flying types back to back. On the bright side, I was starting to realize that double battles equal bad, but that didn't stop this completely avoidable one from happening since I didn't see this old man's bald head with the trees in the way. Psychic Jackie and Expert Frederick were a tough pair without Ice Cream. My team was weak, and sadly, Vinegar was triple targeted by a Confusion, a Vital Throw, and a Future Sight, taking her out. Why the Trapinch was the threat and not the Machoke that is weak to psychic moves, I won't know, but the fact Vinegar didn't go down until only the third hit made me happy. She was such a queen, but I am also sad that we won't be getting a Flygon this time. The team, ravaged once more, this time by optional trainers, is fixed up with ZD Baked and Edamame joining. I also swapped Licorice out with Yogurt and evolved her into my own Altaria. Trauma is now my ally. With that, we head to Mount Pyre and the Evil Team hideouts. Honestly, the only notable things from these was my Magma Hideout Geodude encounter exploding on Yogurt, who would have died to a crit, and using the Master Ball I literally just got to immediately capture the Electrode in the Aqua Hideout to not risk another Exploder. This is what we call character development, and this Electrode is what we call Halibut. Meanwhile, Maxie and Matt weren't a problem. Another highlight was this neat pivot where Yogurt took an Earthquake, prompting Maxie's Camerupt into using Rock Slide. This let me bring in ZD Baked for free, who would have survived a crit, so I could surf it for the KO. It felt really good to strategize as opposed to just winging it most of the time. ZD almost died right after. Anyway, we made the Moss Deep City. Here, we got the Super Rod and found Ice-T, the Sharpedo, lurking in the city. We also returned to Lilycove to get a Star UI named Jello. It's time for Tate and Liza, who are yet another run killer due to their forced double battle with 4 Pokemon. Knowing my Winona plan was overcomplicated, I decided the next best course of action for these two was brute force and nothing else, assembling a line of water and grass type Pokemon to take care of everything without worrying about casualties. During prep, we evolved Hot Dog into Tentacruel, ZD Baked into Wailord, Caraway all the way to a Shiftry, and Licorice into Blossom to get rid of that nasty psychic weakness. The grass types also all had Chlorophyll in case Xatu or Solrock uses Sunny Day, so I did have some working brain cells. Besides that, it's pretty much just Surf Central. I lead Ice-T and ZD Baked. While the Twins' Claydol is weak to water, Xatu isn't, which is why I led with Ice-T and had Caraway in the back for dark coverage. Turn 1, I have Ice-T hit Xatu with a strong crunch, who simply uses Calm Mind right after. The Claydol then goes for Earthquake, which crits Ice-T and knocks her out. Insane how you only got to use one move before dying, but it was a crucial crunch, you sweet shark. I send in Hot Dog to take her place as ZD's Surf finishes Xatu and decently damages the Claydol. This next turn is simple, with Hot Dog using Surf to weaken the Claydol more and greatly damaging Lunatone with a critical hit. Claydol then goes for Earthquake, which luckily both Pokemon survive, though not very well. I am unpunished for these incredibly forceful plays with Lunatone going for the Calm Mind, allowing me to hit both the Moon and the Doll with ZD Surf to take them both out. Last Pokemon is Tate's Solrock. I switched out ZD into Caraway, as for some reason I valued a Wailord more than a Tentacruel if one of them were to faint. Once again though, I am unpunished after Hot Dog surfs the Solrock since it began to charge Solar Beam. This lets me surf it one last time to win our 7th gym badge. Minus Winona, who was honestly only really bad because of my utter stupidity, I think I've handled these run killer gym leaders fairly well. Next is to finish up the villain storyline. No problems are really had, though we do have an evolution and new encounter. Watermelon evolves into Armaldo while I receive a Chinchou named Kinchi while underwater with Dive. Besides that, Archie is fine. Why is it Sharpedo bad? Who knows. We meet Best Boy Wallace and drag Rayquaza out of the sky, yada yada. World is saved, the villains learn that they aren't progressive in the slightest. Wand time. In preparation for his monster Kingdra who will spam Double Team and Rest, I formed this very bulky team. We had Kimchi evolve into Lantern while Quiche evolved into Ludicolo. Starting off our final gym battle, Juan leads with Love Disc as I go with Licorice. Now, I don't want to have an Ash Ketchum moment and have my grass type lose to a Love Disc, but Sweet Kiss is kind of annoying. I intend to Giga Drain her right off the bat, but said Sweet Kiss lands its mark, making Licorice hit herself in confusion. Love Disc can't really do much else though, so when I get through the confusion, Licorice one-shots it with Giga Drain, healing herself up to full. Celio comes out next. Me and my genius self forgot I was confused, but the worst that Celio has is Aurora Beam, not Ice Beam, meaning hitting myself wouldn't be too big of an issue. It especially wasn't an issue here, since Licorice got through her confusion once more to take out Celio with Giga Drain. And now comes the Kingdra. Seeing this, I switch to Quiche as he begins to double team. I hit a fake out for some chip damage. On the following turn, I attempt to hit a Thief. I missed the first, but the second one connects, which steals Kingdra's Chesto Berry that it uses in conjunction with Rest. It's only been setting up double team, so my winning play is to start stalling it or get a few lucky hits in while it's asleep from Rest. I decide to focus on the former stall tactic and swap to ZD Bait, who has learned an assortment of moves specifically for this Kingdra. On the switch, Kingdra finally attacks with Ice Beam, which ZD takes pretty well. Next turn, the Kingdra almost maxes out its evasion, though this really means nothing to ZD since she's a boss and lands a Toxic anyway. This will whittle away at the Kingdra and force it to use Rest or KO it if Juan decides to attack me instead of healing. The following few dozen turns are now just me completely PP stalling the Kingdra. I swap in and out whenever Water Pulse confuses, I use Rest with ZD as a heal, while also stealing the Chesto strat just in case, and eventually it has run dry of attacking options. It does get to the point where it struggles, being finished off through the combined effort of chip damage and recoil. Having aged an entire decade, Juan remembers he has other Pokemon and sends in Whiscash. I go into Licorice as it uses Amnesia. I think a Giga Drain won't KO, so to be safe, I try to put it to sleep with Sleep Powder. It connects, but not before Whiscash summons the rain. Next turn, Giga Drain connects, and yeah, good call on my part. The Whiscash didn't have much to hurt Licorice, but Water Pulse confusion is something I don't want to deal with. Juan attempts to heal, but the next Giga Drain takes it out. Last comes out Crawdon. This thing doesn't get the chance to even humor Licorice, who just Giga Drains and knocks it out in a single hit. And with that, our 8th and final gym badge is obtained. We start our journey to the Pokemon Liga course, and we find a pretty crucial encounter there in Lairon, who I named Nato. But beyond a new friend is a road of mishaps to stumble on. First, we have our final battle with Wally. Most of his team was fine, though the unpredictable nature of Delcatty's assist against my slow team had me a bit worried. We got through that litter box, but the real threat was his Gardevoir. I didn't even think to bring a dark type with me, so its powerful psychics were blowing me away. I managed to land a Toxic and stall it through Switches and Yogurt's Fly, but those Calm Minds were really worrying. Wally was defeated, and luckily, that was the last major pain before our elite. Shoot. Thinking no more trainers were ahead near the exit of Victory Road, and after this one trainer literally said we're at the end, I accidentally ran into one last double battle. What is it this time? Oh no. Not only do I get the Ice Beam jump scare that nearly kills Yogurt, why did you fucking have Ice Beam? But it freezes too! No! Skill swapping Truant away to make slacking a monster against my weakened team was the cherry on top. Oh my god. Oh no! I was fighting for my run here. Was I really going to fall right before the Elite Four? Luckily, the AI was done by skill swapping back Truant a few times, but there was another slacking in the back of the Gardevoir trainer and a Dusclops who I assumed also had skill swap for the other. Yes, I did look this up because I was scared. They were also healing, and I didn't have Acid anymore as an alternative attack for Licorice because I replaced it with Flash for convenience. Bless useless HMs. To continue the string of misfortunes, while I do get the KO on the first slacking, I barely miss it on the Dusclops by a literal pixel. Gardevoir is hitting hard with Psychic for Wally flashbacks, Dusclops is spreading Toxics, and Watermelon, unfortunately, is on the receiving end of a Psychic and Toxic, which finishes him off, sadly. This is awful, to say the least, and I apologize to my friend again. I was literally at a point where both Licorice and Sketty could not get rid of this stupid Dusclops because they either didn't affect it or were out of PP for attacks. I had to swap in Ochazuke to handle that. Both skill swappers are finally down and it's just the Slacking. However, figuring that since Slacking came out mid-turn, that would be its attacking turn and Truant will activate now. I clicked an attack instead of protecting Ochazuke and then met myself with an Earthquake, killing her. I must have misremembered what happened with Truant since something like this occurred in a Nuzlocke video I watched, but yep, should have played it safe. So yeah, another storm of pain as our allies decease in front of our eyes. It's not the worst. We didn't lose anyone else, and I don't really think I was going to bring either Lost Soldier into the Elite Four, but they could have at least retired into PC with Private Biscuit. Cool trainers Caitlyn and Quincy, please go do better things with your lives than toying with my loved ones. Now it's for the Elite Four preparations. Before that, I did capture Orange the Spheal in Shoal Cave, our final encounter of the run and one I almost forgot about. I also knew I couldn't trust myself to do a ton of risky maneuvers that I had gotten away with in the past. I spent a few hours thinking and preparing for the battles ahead, making strategies and moveset ideas. I decided that this team had the best chances of being able to win. For all the mons of my PC, alive and permanently fainted, this one's for you. First up, we have Sydney. Thanks to the high level caps reaching the level of Drake Salamence, I'm not worried at all for this fight. I taught Yogurt Substitute and Dragon Dance to completely set up on Sydney's weak Mightyena, who always starts with Sand Attack. Substitute negates this, so it's as free as it sounds. So yeah, we're setting up 6 Dragon Dances. I also found out Roar doesn't work on Substitute like I thought it would. I was thinking I'd need a couple of attempts to boost up properly, but either way, 6 Dragon Dances were enough to sweep through Sydney's entire squad of goons. I used Fly on the Mightyena and Absol, Ice Beam on Shiftry a few times, one which froze, funnily enough, and 2 more flies took care of the Cacturn and Crawdon. So Substitute may be pretty busted and the AI doesn't know how to really handle it because they kept spamming status moves even with it up. I said I wouldn't do the Lanoon strat, which utilizes Belly Drum and Substitute to sweep, but Altaria, that's a-okay in my book. Next up, Phoebe. She leads with her first Dusclops while I send out Orange. Phoebe loves to use Protect with Dusclops. In fact, she likes to do it over and over, and Orange respects that and uses Encore to ensure it will. Once I get it off, I switch to Yogurt. I set up a Substitute, and you could probably guess what happens next. Yogurt gets off 6 Dragon Dances, and even a Shadow Punch is unable to break the sub in one hit. Confuse Ray and Curse, of course, also don't help this Dusclops out. One critical hit Fly coming right up. The rest of Phoebe's team also succumbed to Fly. Very much so glad her first Dusclops doesn't have Ice Beam like her second one does. At this point though, it's too late for that one. Her Sableye and 2 Bayonet couldn't have done much either besides Sableye being annoying with Double Team. With that, we defeat Phoebe. While Sydney and Phoebe weren't much, Glacia is a whole other story. There is no way I'll be able to get off 6 Dragon Dances with Yogurt and sweep like before. I needed an actual strategy, but that's where most of the rest of the team comes in. Glacia sends out the first of her 2 Celio as I lead with Nato. This thing doesn't have a water move, so I start off with an Earthquake as it goes for Hail. I use Earthquake again on the next turn to take it out. This, in turn, summons Walrein, who does possess water coverage. This is what I wanted, so that I could deal with this bulky thing straight away. I switched to Orange on a Surf for the ultimate Stall Rain duel, trading a few Surfs and Body Slams. Hail eventually stops, and I go for a Rest to heal up. Thanks to Rest, I don't have to worry about status conditions as much as I would normally. These Body Slam paralysis won't occur while sleepy, and the damage isn't that bad. The Rest stall goes on until Glacia's Walrein is out of Body Slams. I go on the offensive at this point, using surprisingly strong Surfs to chunk at it as it desperately uses Ice Beam and its own Surfs. I heal up when necessary, and so does Glacia, but my own Walrein stalls her out enough to take her ace down with one final Surf. One of the Glalie twins comes out next. Glacia exposes which one this is by the level difference, so I know this isn't the one with Explosion. I simply go for a Surf for half its HP, while it retaliates with a pitifully weak Icy Wind. This does mean it's faster to land a Crunch next turn, but we eat that for breakfast and break the Glalie with another Surf. Glalie's second Celio comes out next. I go for Surf for decent damage as it uses Hail. At this point, I am out of Surfs, but since it used Hail, Orange's Encore is the peak play here anyway. This is a really busted move, can I just say? Forcing it to Hail to its heart's content, I go into Jello and blast it with a Thunderbolt. This barely doesn't KO, but this also is going to waste Hail turns, so that's fine with me. 2 more Thunderbolts take the Celio out, and Glacia is left with her exploding Glalie. I am not sure how likely the AI will explode when it's their last Pokemon, but I switched to the Quad Resist Nato anyway, just in case. Ice Beam and Shadow Ball are its other offensive options, which we can take fairly well. It also simply just sets the Hail up again on the switch. On the next turn, the Glalie takes a decent chunk away with Ice Beam, but not too much to be concerned over as Nato hits it with a Flamethrower. Not knowing which would actually have done more, I go for Earthquake next turn after taking another Ice Beam. It does slightly more it seems, so I might have been able to two-shot if I just did Earthquake right away. I decide my best bet now is to switch Nato out for Quiche, since I doubt that the Glalie would explode here or at all for the rest of the battle. Unfortunately, it didn't explode, but it did get an Ice Beam crit on Quiche, which also froze him. This means I have to risk another crit Ice Beam by switching to Halibut to finish it off, but what are the chances of that, right? Halibut Thunderbolts for the KO, and Glacia is defeated. The final Elite Four member, Drake, was the one I was most worried of these four. I lead Yogurt for this battle. Drake's Shelgon possesses Protect, and like every trainer in Emerald, will spam it to his heart's content. To be careful, I set up a substitute before stacking the Dragon Dances. Yogurt is weak to Dragon after all. After some Dragon Dances, Drake notices what I'm up to and goes for Rock Tomb, which doesn't actually break the sub. This allows me to swap between Substitute and Dragon Dance to eventually set up +6 attack and speed. I make sure to keep a Substitute up for good measure before starting the onslaught with an Ice Beam, KOing the Shelgon. I then Ice Beam his Altaria, Flygon, and Salamence for one-hit KOs, before he brings in the Kingdra. This was the thing I was worried about the most since it isn't weak to Ice Beam, but it's also the only thing without a Dragon move, which is why he didn't bring it out until now. Smokescreen also won't affect the sub, so pressing Fly here is my best bet, and we take it down in one shot. With that, the Elite Four is defeated, but that just leaves Wallace and his champion ult that should totally be in Pokemon Masters. As I had the plan to sweep 3 of the Elite Four members with one Pokemon, Wallace is the one I prepped for the most of these 5 trainers, and why some team members haven't had the chance to truly shine until now. One beautiful man in the way of me completing my first Nuzlocke. Honestly, he's so hot I wouldn't mind. Wallace leads with his monstrous water-spouting Wailord, but I bring out Quiche for his quad resistance. As you see here as well, I had used my Giga Drain TM on Licorice way back, so I'm stuck with Absorb's 20 base power. This should be fine since I have Rest for healing, but longer battles mean the likelihood of crits rises. Anyway, turn 1 starts the chip game with an Absorb that looks to be a 5 to 6 hit KO. Wailord then goes for Double Edge to help me edge out that 5-hit KO. Nice. The damage is pretty big still against Quiche, but I go for Absorb again to whittle it down. Wailord then uses Rain Dance, which benefits me actually because Quiche has Rain Dash for his ability, acting as a leftovers if Rain is up. We then trade another Absorb and Double Edge, and at this point, Wallace is healing. I realize Surf probably will deal more damage with Rain up, so I go for it, and I was right. But I also want to heal more, so on the next turn I Absorb again as Quiche takes another Double Edge. We continued this debacle until Wailord finally goes down to one last Absorb. Next up is the Tentacruel. I immediately switch to Nato to take the Sludge Bomb before switching again to Orange on a Hydro Pump. The Tentacruel then goes for Sludge Bomb again, which was a big mistake as I Encore it. I could switch to Nato right away here to Earthquake it, but I figure my best bet was to rest here so Orange was ready for Wallace's other Pokemon. Sludge Bomb even poisons here, but napping it off is fine. The next turn, I switch back to Nato to absorb the Sludge Bomb, and with an Encore still active, I then Earthquake the Tentacruel for a clean one-hit KO. Almost, but the Encore is still up, so I just go for another Earthquake. Wallace surprisingly didn't heal here, but that's okay in my book. Now we have Wallace's Dragon Dancing Gyarados. This thing could do to me what Yogurt did to the Elite 3/4. The plan was to sack Nato here and Thunderbolt in case it did Dragon Dance, but I forgot to give it to her, being stuck with this useless Flamethrower. So yeah, I was forced to Ice Beam here, as it did set up a Dragon Dance. On the next turn, I did a risky Protect to see what it would do, an Earthquake. I decided it's not worth the risk of another Dragon Dance and simply succumb to the Earthquake. We didn't know you for long, Nato, but thank you for being a tank when we needed you. As I was deciding who to send out next, Twitch chat told me I could have swapped the Yogurt. I could have, as she is immune to Earthquake, and I took that as, do it right now, with both of us thinking we could substitute on Hyper Beams to constantly hit it on recharge turns. Turns out, both the Twitch user and I completely forgot about the Gyarados being faster via Dragon Dance. So the Gyarados goes for another Dragon Dance as the substitute goes up. On the next turn, it broke my sub with Hyper Beam, and this was my second mistake. The plan actually could have worked, but I used Fly, meaning I would be attacking on its recharge turn and not its Hyper Beam one. The order was swapped, but under these conditions, the original Twitch chat plan may have succeeded. Unfortunately, I was panicking since it was faster and didn't use Ice Beam as my attack. This means, the turn after Fly hits, Gyarados takes its second victim as Yogurt goes down to a Hyper Beam. I am so sorry, Soldier, after you swept through the entire Elite 3/4. I let you down like this. The run is far from over at least, but the fact I could have had 0 sacks if I switched to Yogurt on an Earthquake and then did the substitute strat really hurts. It's the champion fight, yeah, so it doesn't really matter too much, but I wanted these guys to retire in the PC with Private Biscuit, not the Afterlife with 12 other victims. The battle isn't over. but thank you, Twitch chat. So I go into Halibut here, who would have most definitely been able to outspeed Gyarados at +1. You know, to shove it in that I really did sacrifice Yogurt for nothing. Anyway, I get the Thunderbolt off during its recharge, and I knock it out. This then brings out Whiscash. I need another clean switch, and what better way to do it by making another sacrifice, but in style. Halibut's job was done in electrocuting the Gyarados, so it's time for him to see his friends with this massive explosion. In hindsight, if Yogurt was still alive, I could have switched on an Earthquake and then do Substrats, since this thing also has Hyper Beam. Pretty angry at that, not gonna lie. This doesn't knock out Whiscash as I had hoped, but Quiche seeing half his squad die from my lack of focus meant he would be determined to pull through. The turn I scouted with Halibut's Protect, Whiscash had set up Amnesia. The chipping game begins once more as Quiche spams Absorbs while taking Earthquakes. His determination brought Whiscash down to the red after Wallace's second full restore, but Wallace thought it'd be funny to use a third one once his HP was low again. You really wanted to use 2 of them on this Whiscash, huh? Not the Tentacruel, 2 on Whiscash. It got to the point where Whiscash was raising special defense with Amnesia again, but Quiche was having none of that, landing a critical hit Absorb to bring it down to the red once more. 2 more Absorbs finish it off. Whiscash was desperate with Hyper Beam here, but even a crit wouldn't have KO'd. Now is the stalling Milotic. Just like with his mentor, Juan, it is time to outstall the staller. This time, using Orange. Toxic would have been great here, but with only 1 TM that's currently on ZD Baked, we go to do it the old pee-pee train way. Through the will of resting in bed, surfing when we can to trigger recovers, and more resting to get over Toxic, we make it lose its attacking option slowly. I also took advantage of it using Toxic when it was out of attacking moves, so I could bring in Quiche and rest it off to heal. Also making sure to burn through the sleep turns for Wallace's final Pokemon. During the struggle, I make sure to have Quiche out in front again. Otherwise, I might have had to sack Orange on the opposing Ludicolo just in case, but my consciousness wouldn't allow me to do that. We absorb, surf, and rest when necessary during the struggle onslaught to eventually drain away both Milotic and Wallace's last full restore. Now comes the final obstacle in my path to completing my first Nuzlocke. Ludicolo. This lad packs only Giga Drain to deal good damage on my Ludicolo. Quiche is awake once the mirror match starts, so I begin with rest to start stalling Giga Drains. But Ludicolo goes for the annoying double teams right off the bat. What will our hero do here? Quiche is overwhelmed with bitterness, so not only does he hit through a +2 evasion opponent, but... Oh, outplayed. Freeze moment. Quiche then proceeds to hit 3 Ice Beams in a row as Wallace's Ludicolo stays there helplessly. I do miss the next Ice Beam, but it was to humor Wallace a bit after he decimated half my team. Quiche delivers 1 grand Ice Beam to end this mirror match victorious, as well as the champion battle to win me my first ever Nuzlocke. GG, well played, you beautiful, beautiful man. Either way, that was an insane run to say the least. I'm proud of how I did, despite the 15 deaths along the way, though I did have to ask my one friend who was with me the entire way a question. Did you think I could actually do it?
You want me to be honest?
Yeah, be honest with me. I actually am very curious because throughout this entire experience you've been with me.
No.
I do not blame you in the slightest. I will say, most of my deaths were from when I wouldn't have too much use for a Pokemon. The only exceptions really being Tailo way back at Gym 2 and Kadabra. But I should really learn to be more patient and not overthink strategies. Regardless, this Hardcore Nuzlocke was a blast, and I'm going to do more in the future. They're really, really fun. If you're interested in that, or my other forms of content in fighting games or Let's Plays, feel free to subscribe. You can also find my Twitter and Twitch in the description, where I talk about and also play the aforementioned fighting games, Let's Plays, and Nuzlockes. Thanks for watching this wacky ride, and I'll see you guys next time. This was such an adventure.